The siren noticed, before her sister spoke, that she did not ask about the harbor ledger, did not ask about the names, did not ask about the progress on the secondary targets. In the second week, the first visit, the questions had been specific. How many names? What was the next move? When did she reach the primary target? Now, there were no questions at all. Only the message. The sister knew about the rival. She had not said so. She would not say so. The system did not explain itself. It registered and adjusted and arrived with different information than it had last time. The absence of the questions was the information. The siren received it.
"You have until the dark moon," her sister said. "That is the window for the tidal mechanism. The conditions require that specific alignment. If the heart is not delivered before the dark moon, the mechanism cannot run. The conditions will not return for 11 years. How many days? 12. The water came up over the stones and receded, cold each time. The harbor continued behind her. "The witch knows where things stand," the siren said. "The witch has always known where things stand," her sister said. The siren looked at the water moving around her sister's body. The specific indifference of water to what it holds. The way it accommodates form without caring about it. She had grown up in that indifference. She had never, before the surface, understood that it was a quality she had taken for granted until she was in an element that did not have it. If I return without it. Then you return, knowing what you chose not to do. And that knowledge has a place. You know what the place is. Her sister went under. The water closed over her the way it closed over everything. The cold came up through the stones with the next small wave and receded again. The siren stayed at the waterline. She counted 12 on the pilings of the nearest dock section. 1 finger per piling, starting from the left. The pilings were cold and salt-roughed under her hand. There were more than 12. She stopped at 12 and held her hand on the 12th one and understood what 12 days meant against where she was. Then she walked. Not back toward town, along the shore, away from the harbor, where the ground was wet sand, and then gravel, and then larger stones that shifted under her weight and required attention. She had learned to walk on this surface over 11 weeks, and the body had learned it faster than the mind had. And now she walked on unstable ground, in the dark, without falling, because the body had made its adjustments, whether she had decided to or not. This was what the surface did. It trained you while you were paying attention to something else. The first problem was physical, and its solution was blocked by the second problem. She needed to speak to the witch. The only way to reach the witch was to descend, and she was in a body that could not descend without the sisters. The sisters served the system. The system had just delivered the ultimatum through the sisters. Asking the sisters to take her to the witch without the heart was asking the mechanism to carry her to the source of the mechanism so she could explain why she was considering not meeting its terms. The mechanism did not contain that option. She had understood this about systems before she ever surfaced. A current does not discuss terms with what it carries.
It takes things where they are going. The gravel shifted under her feet. She adjusted. She walked until the harbor lights were a distance behind her, and the shore was dark in both directions. And the sound of the water was no longer the harbor's contained version of itself, but the open version, larger, less organized. The sound of something that does not have edges.
She held the two paths, the way you hold two weights, to compare them, not sequentially, simultaneously, one in each hand, feeling the distribution. First path. She brought back the heart in 12 days. She completed the task. The mechanism ran. The harbor fell. The man who stood at the water's edge and put things in reports that did not change anything, and looked at the sea with the face of someone carrying a permanent weight. He was gone, along with everything else the harbor contained. The siren who had done this returned to the deep as herself. Name restored, debt settled. The account balanced in the way the account was designed to close. She was no longer required to think about him. There was nothing left to think about. The gravel, the dark, the open water sound on her left. Second path. She returned without the heart. She became the keeper, the holder of the forward sight, the maker of the next pact. She sat in the deep where the witch sat, and she waited for the next one to arrive, carrying something between grief and fury. And she made the pact with her, and she watched her go up. The harbor continued. The boats continued. The account remained open for 11 years until the mechanism could be set again. The man at the water's edge continued. She could see him from the deep, in the blurred outline of what was coming, always one step ahead of what she could change. He would be fine in the way of people who do not know they have been spared. He would stand at the water for years. He would grow old there. She would see this and not be part of it. That was the second path. She stopped walking. The stones under her feet were still. She had come far enough from the harbor that the lights were small behind her. Neither path contained what the 3 days had contained. This was the thing she had not let herself name until now, standing in the dark with the open water beside her, and 12 days counted on dock pilings. Both paths ended with the 3 days gone. Both paths treated the 3 days as a thing that had happened inside a larger structure and been superseded by that structure. The structure did not know what to do with the 3 days. The structure had not been designed to account for them. She was not going to resolve this tonight. She was clear about that. She was going to walk back to the harbor, and she was going to go to her room, and she was going to sit at the table where the ledger was, and the small notebook was not. And she was going to think about what was still possible and what was not, with the same precision she had brought to everything else. She would arrive at something she could carry. She did not know yet what that was. The water moved beside her in the dark, large and indifferent and continuous, the way it had always moved, the way it would be moving long after both paths had resolved into their respective futures, and the account was open or closed, and she was in the deep or on the surface, or neither. She turned back toward the lights. She came back from the shore at some point before the light changed, She did not know what hour. The room was the same room, the table was the same table, and the ledger was where she had left it, open to the last entry she had made before the walk, the ink dry, the page holding its information with the same indifference it always held things. She sat down. She did not open the ledger. She sat in the dark and watched the window until the dark became the kind of dark that is the hour before light rather than the middle of the night. A slightly different quality, a density that has begun to thin at the edges without yet becoming anything you could call morning. Somewhere in the hours of that walk and the sitting after it, she had made the choice.